After an entire day of effort, he finally managed to crochet a baby hat. When he handed the finished product through the window, the system immediately credited his account with 20 cents. Obviously, that was nowhere near enough. Over the following days, Mike threw himself into the work with everything he had. Every time he turned in a finished piece, he'd grab new materials and start again right away. Because in this place, even eating cost money, and a single meal ran $1. At that rate, what he earned could barely keep him alive. Fortunately, with practice, Mike got faster and more skilled. To cut costs wherever he could, he started sleeping with the lights on, eating just one McDonald's meal a day, and even holding it in as long as possible, because every trip to the bathroom cost 30 cents. As Mike worked around the clock, his account balance slowly climbed. When he turned in his last piece, he'd finally scraped together $5. With that, he could finally call his mother and ask her to borrow money for a lawyer. But the moment his mother's face appeared on the screen, before Mike could even get a word out, the billing meter in the corner had already started ticking. Seeing her son in prison, his mother nearly had a heart attack.
I need money for a defense lawyer. $10,000.
$10,000?
But before Mike could explain anything, the video call was cut off by the system due to insufficient funds. In that moment, he completely lost it, screaming and pounding at the black screen. The next day, Mike gave up his last shred of hope. He stopped trying and spent the whole day goofing off to kill time. While he was busy earning enough for his next meal, the system notified him that $10,000 had been deposited into his account. But as luck would have it, Mike didn't even look up. At that point, the only thing that seemed to matter to him was getting something to eat. Soon enough, the 3-month deadline arrived, and the system asked him once more, cold as ever, whether he would plead guilty. Mike now had two paths in front of him: submit and plead guilty, accepting a 45 to 47-year sentence, or hire a lawyer right now and fight. Just as Mike was drowning in despair, he suddenly noticed an unread message on the screen. Curious, he tapped on it and discovered it was a $10,000 transfer from his mother. She had never given up on him, and the money was enough to cover a lawyer. Mike immediately submitted a request, hoping someone would finally speak up for him. As the $10,000 vanished from his account, he finally got connected with a lawyer. But things were far from what he'd imagined. The lawyer told him his case was extremely tricky and nearly impossible to resolve easily. He advised Mike to drop any illusions and just plead guilty. That was the most realistic way out. And with that, the call was abruptly ended. From start to finish, Mike had no idea what crime he'd actually committed. All he did that day was break into a jog because he was in a hurry, and a police drone flagged him as a suspect and hauled him in. Now his $10,000 was gone, and the lawyer hadn't even given him a chance to speak before writing him off. Suddenly, Mike felt like he'd been played. He couldn't begin to understand who had made up these so-called rules. Just as he was about to resign himself to his fate, the system notified him that he'd been acquitted and released. Mike could hardly believe his eyes, but the door was wide open. The rush of freedom nearly made him forget all the absurdity and suffering he'd been through. His belongings were returned, and it was as if none of it had ever happened. But more than anything, all Mike wanted was to get as far away from that place as possible. This is a highly controversial Oscar-nominated short film. The prison in the story represents the people who make the rules, and we are the ones trapped at the bottom. Under these ruthless rules, no matter how hard you work, you can barely scrape by.